and he had a sea cucumber in his mouth.
Yeah.
Right? And I swear to God, this sea lion wanted to play fetch with me.
All right, welcome back to another show of Drop a Pin. Today, we are going to drop a pin with our good buddy PFT Commenter. Where are we going, PFT?
Hi, boys. We're going to Ecuador.
Oh, hell yes. Why Ecuador? Have you been?
I've been to Ecuador one time. I was there for 14 days. So I'm not an expert on the country, but I do love Ecuador. It's my favorite place that I've ever been.
14 days is a solid vacation, though.
It is. I got to travel, especially a smaller country like Ecuador.
Yeah.
I got to travel around a little bit. And also, full disclosure, I'm doing an episode of Megan Making Munchies in just a little bit here, and so she gave me a gummy to take. So
Okay.
I have indulged in some extracurricular activities that'll be kicking in during the episode of the podcast. So that'll make for good podcast.
Love that.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Ecuador. It's a cool place. Very nice people, and it's a very diverse country in terms of like the different climates that you can be in Ecuador. It's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that, and not just Ecuador itself, but even the Galapagos Islands. The different islands could have completely different climate zones.
And some of the islands have different climate zones on that island, self-contained, like small islands that you start out at the beach, you go up to like a subtropical rainforest, you get a little bit higher, and you're in like almost a desert plain type area.
Yep.
It's very, very cool. So I'm very excited to spread the gospel of Ecuador.
I mean, the Galapagos Islands, maybe one of the most famous island chains on Earth, just because that's where Darwin came up with his theory on evolution.
Yeah, they love Darwin. Everything in the Galapagos Islands is named after Darwin. Got like a research center. They've got a tortoise sanctuary up there.
Speaking of tortoises, I learned one of the craziest facts ever while preparing for this episode. Darwin and Steve Irwin owned the same turtle.
No way.
No
Whoa.
way. It was a turtle that lived to be 175 or something. It was first, I guess, captured by Darwin on his trips there, and then it passed hands a couple times and was eventually owned by Steve Irwin.
It's like an heirloom turtle. You leave two generations leave this turtle in their will.
I also feel like you go to a bar and you say, I got one of Darwin's turtle, instant pussy.
Yeah.
Instant.
I want to see that thing.
Yeah.
We also misspoke. My bad. I got lectured on this several times when I was there. Tortoise,
Yeah.
not turtle.
Oh,
big,
yeah.
Big difference between the tortoise and the turtle. But I remember them telling me when I was going on this trip through the Galapagos, and you can get like a guide that will show you the different places on each island, and they are like insanely well educated on the history and the science behind those islands. And my guide was George. And George, not to be confused with Lonesome George, the giant tortoise, but George told me that when Spanish explorers were first going to the Galapagos, they would capture these giant tortoises that they saw. One, they were easy to catch. Two, they were the only source of protein that you could take on a ship, because you could just take the giant tortoise, flip it on its back on a ship, and then it would stay alive for months at a time. Like, these tortoises can live for a long time without eating. So you would have fresh meat for your entire trip back. That would last, like you could bring some from the island, and then we got this giant tortoise on the deck that I just can't wait to carve up and barbecue after like 15 days at sea.
Have you ever heard of the book Papillon?
No.
It's a book about a guy who escapes from prison in French Guiana, and he sails around and ends up pretty close to the Galapagos Islands, and ends up, after he escapes from prison there, and he ends up going where it's a pretty similar spot, not the Galapagos, but they did the same thing with the turtles. Like, so the indigenous people, whenever they had like the migrations come in where the tortoises would lay and the turtles would lay eggs, they would capture them, and because they could sit upside down for months, they would just go get them whenever they were going to lay eggs, put them in their camp upside down where they couldn't get, and then they would have food for like half a year.
Yeah, it was the original Yeti cooler. You just get a
that's
tortoise
right.
and you flip it upside down.
That's right.
And these poor tortoises, like, they don't have any defense mechanisms really besides just their size and their shell. So they're sitting ducks, and that's why a lot of different species of tortoise went extinct, because they just got put on too many ships.
And they would come and they would give it a little bit of food from time to time, and they would just hang out underneath there. That one of the ways that sailors, like indigenous sailors, whenever they were trying to do like exploring, that's how they would eat. They would take these turtles and put them in there, so they would actually have. They say it tastes essentially like red meat would.
Yeah, I mean, I've had frog.
I have had turtle soup.
I have not had turtle soup.
I've had turtle soup out in China.
Your impressions?
Gelatinous. Not as good as frog.
I 1000% agree.
Frog legs are very good.
Yeah. Frog is tasty. I was not a fan of turtle. I got to see them kill the turtle in the back. And it wasn't like a big tortoise. It was like the same type of turtle I had as a pet as a kid.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be into that.
No, it was brutal. They I think they just like did a quick like crack of the shell. Because when you crack the shell, I think it's kind of like a turtle breaking its back. I'm pretty sure that video got restricted on YouTube because they don't want turtle murder.
They like steam it like a lobster, stick a knife into it, and then do you grill the turtle?
I actually think this is on film, so we can throw in a clip.
Okay.
Fun little side story about turtles in China. My first few years living out here, I would randomly see like a Chinese dude just on the side of the road with a giant turtle tied to a stick. It was the weirdest thing. And so, I was obviously curious. Sometimes I would take out my phone to take a little photo, and the people holding the turtles on a stick would just be like, whoa, no pictures, no pictures. They would just get like super embarrassed and run away. I was like, dude, if you're standing on the street with a turtle tied to a stick, you gotta expect a couple people are gonna wanna take a picture. I had no idea what was going on. Apparently, those are like random construction workers, and they find a turtle crossing a road somewhere in China, and then they just stand on the road and they're trying to sell it. They're trying to sell it for meat because apparently it's a hot commodity out here.
So I had a bad experience with tortoise death when I was in the Galapagos. And it goes back to my tour guide, George. So if you grow up on the Galapagos Islands, first of all, you can't really move there. They won't let you move there unless you marry somebody that was born on the Galapagos Islands.
Which I like that. They basically built a wall around the Galapagos.
Yeah, they built a wall of chastity around the Galapagos.
Yeah.
And it's good because it's such like a unique place on Earth. There's nothing like it anywhere else. They're trying to keep it as nature forward as possible and as pristine as possible and preserved, which is why you can only go to like a very small part of the total land mass of the Galapagos Islands. They restrict where you're allowed to travel. But if you grow up there, you typically get into the tourism industry. And part of that is like learning more about the science and the history behind the island. And then they also will ask you, okay, now you have to take care of some of our like injured tortoises, or you have to work at the tortoise sanctuary and help raise the young tortoises. And George, for I think 2 years of his life, he was looking after Lonesome George, the Pinta Island tortoise, I believe. And Lonesome George was the oldest tortoise in the world. He was the last of his kind, would not fuck. They tried to get this tortoise to fuck and reproduce.
What a cuck.
So many times over the years. They were just trying to get his DNA and crossbreed it with the closest tortoise to him. So it wouldn't be like a purebred offspring that he would have, but at least his bloodline would live on. And he just wouldn't fuck. Try as they might, they put several different female tortoises in there. He had no interest.
Yeah.
He was asexual. And George, my tour guide, he looked after this tortoise for a couple of years. He was in charge of like shoveling his shit, feeding him, making sure he was okay, checking on his health, all this stuff. And Lonesome George was the mascot for the Galapagos Islands. Any gift shop you go into, even in Ecuador, the mainland, you go in there and you see pictures of Lonesome George everywhere. He's on every single T-shirt. I think he was between 110 and 170 years old. Most people I talked to said that he was probably closer to the 150, 160 age range. And he was the big deal. He was like the biggest star of Ecuador. So I go there, and George, he starts showing me around the islands. And then on, I think, the third day, we go to the tortoise sanctuary, which is where Lonesome George is located. And I'm out with George on this guide. We're walking through this jungle, and we're spotting all these tortoises left and right. It was very cool. And then we get into his car, and we start driving back. And he pulls over to the side of the road to take a call. And then he starts crying. And I was like, what's going on? And he looks back at me with tears in his eyes. Big, strong man crying. He goes, Lonesome George has just died. The day before I was supposed to meet Lonesome George, I mushed the oldest tortoise in the world.
Oh my God.
And the next day was like a day of mourning across all of Ecuador. Like shops were closed. People were sad everywhere. They were talking about like how it's a terrible thing that we have had the opportunity to witness extinction in real life.
Yeah, like that's what, when you were telling the story, like missing a pet or something that you care about for a long time, just losing that is hard enough. Knowing that that's the last one that will ever be on Earth.
Yeah.
God.
And they care so much about nature there.
Both of them.
Yeah, poor George. Both. Yeah, you're right. So it's such like a focus island in terms of nature and in terms of science. And they were especially sad because of the extinction factor, where it's like, this is what we've done to our Earth, is we've just eliminated a species.
Did they take him on a bandsaw and count his rings or no?
I actually don't know. They were planning a memorial for him, but I had to leave the islands before his funeral. Yeah. I would have liked to have gone just to pay my respects to George.
Yeah, play him a song.
Yeah,
Free Bird.
Yeah, won't you fly, George? It's a cool island chain though, and you've got beaches, you've got sea lions that will come right up to you like they're dogs. Like, okay, so the first day I went to the Galapagos, I go scuba dive or snorkeling, right? I'm snorkeling in this little bay. And as I'm down there, this family of sea lions swims right up to me. And some of them are pretty big. Some of them are like, just eyeballing them, like 200, 250 pounds. And they're wild animals. And they're swimming like right at you. And they come up to you and they're so friendly. They just want to like splash around and play with you while you're in the water. I was like, this is the coolest experience I've ever had in my entire life.
I bet you were giggling like a little
it's like
boy.
Having a sea dog.
Yeah. And it's not like you're at an aquarium where it's like pay $5, swim with the sea lion, and then get out. You're out in the middle of nature, and they're coming up to you and playing with you.
They're doing it because they want to.
They want to. They got good vibes for me.
Yeah.
And so the mom was like swimming around in circles, just eyeballing me. The kids, they wanted to jam. They wanted to play. So one of the sea lion pups was coming up, and he was probably like 80, 90 pounds, and he had a sea cucumber in his mouth.
Yeah.
Right? And I swear to God, this sea lion wanted to play fetch with me. So he would bring the sea cucumber up to me, and then he would like hold it in his hands, and he'd be right in my face, like a foot away. And then he'd start like dropping it and catching it in the water, dropping it, catching it. And then I wasn't grabbing because they told you don't try to touch them, don't reach out.
Yeah.
And the sea lion takes the cucumber and he like turns around and he like throws it, and then he lets it fall down to the bottom of the water and looks at me. Then he goes and gets it.
Kind of showing you what he wants to do.
He's showing me.
Yeah.
And so when he brought the cucumber back, then he got real close to me, and then Mama got into protection mode. So Mama swam directly at me, and then at the last second veered off to the side, like full speed. I was like, I got to get out. She's not down with the fetch games. But that was my introduction to the island. And I was like, well, this is the coolest place I'll ever be.
So I've not been there, but my mom went. She got bit by a sea lion.
Yeah?
Yeah. It didn't break the skin, but one came up and just bit her on the back, and then she had bite marks on her back.
Yeah, they got big teeth too.
Yeah, but I mean, having just your own sea lion would be incredible. If there was one pet that people don't have as pets that I wish they could, it would be a sea lion.
Yeah, some of them are
Otters too.
Otters, yeah. They give off similar vibes, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but then I guess when you read about it, otters, I guess, can be like...
They're fuckers.
Yeah, they're rapists. They can be big-time assholes.
Yeah, there's a video that I saw. It was in British Columbia, and a woman was doing some kayaking around, and the most classic white woman shit. Like, here comes a wild otter family, and she reaches out to pet them, and then as soon as she does, two of the otters jump in the boat and start like attacking her. And she, like, the video ends in like 45 seconds.
This isn't like a cartoon. What's going on? Yeah, the sea lions are cool, and they're everywhere. They're like homeless people in that town, and by that I mean they sleep on the park benches. They go up and just have like these camps of sea lions that are just in the middle of the town that snore super, super loud all night long. But the sea lions on the park benches, you see those, and you're like, how did you get up on that park bench? You don't have arms. Well, the last day that I was there, I got to see a sea lion throwing itself onto a park bench so it could sleep, and it just puts one flipper up, two flipper up, and then it just waits because it's catching its breath, and it's like, oh, what do I do now? And then it starts to piss, and it's got this weird dick that comes out and starts pissing everywhere, and then as
powering up,
and then as it's pissing, it throws the rest of its body onto the park bench mid-piss, full stream, and then just lays down on its belly as it continues to piss.
You know what it is?
On this park bench.
Greasing the skids.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. You're probably right.
I bet it's getting itself wet so it's more slippery.
Yeah. Make it easier to slide up there.
Yeah.
And do you think their dick always comes out to add some more support? kind of like to turn themselves into a tripod.
Maybe.
You could argue if that's the case, that is the most evolved dick in the world.
It uses its dick as a tool, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was wild. I think I have a video of it somewhere. I'll see if I do, and if I do, I'll send it to you. But yeah, mad respect to sea lions, or as they're known, lobo marinos, sea wolves. And you can tell the difference between a sea lion and a seal.
Ooh,
how?
Yeah.
Do you guys know how?
I do not know how.
Whiskers?
Not the whiskers, but on its head.
Okay. Spots?
No.
White spots? Does it have to do with their nose?
Nope.
Okay.
What is it?
We're going to get this. So.
Oh, yeah, no, don't tell us. Eyebrows, no eyebrows?
Nope. Damn. Different facial feature?
Mouth?
Nope.
Some ears?
Yep.
One has ears, one doesn't?
Sea lions have external ears, so they've got cute little flappy ears. And then seals, it's just flat. And there's like a little hole there.
I was going to say ears, but I didn't want to look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Be like, they don't have ears.
The ears, that's how you can spot them. There should be like a funny rhyme about it.
It's funny that they call them sea wolves, but we call them sea lions. Like, how did that mix-up happen? Like,
I feel like
maybe different species.
I feel like the Spaniards were right. Like, they look more like wolves by far than they do lions. There's nothing lion-like about a sea lion.
Like, the animal facts on the Galapagos is just absolutely insane. Like, I feel like every line that you read, if you're researching it, you're like, holy shit. Like 90% of all lizards, like different species of lizards, live on the Galapagos.
Yeah, a lot of lizards, a lot of finches. If you're a finch man, that's the place to be.
A lot of boobies.
A lot of boobies everywhere.
Boobies, the blue-footed boobie, might be my favorite animal I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah.
For their mating ritual.
Their dance is funny. Yeah.
Yeah, where they flop their feet out. They're showing their original like foot fetish guys. Like it's all about showing how blue your boobies are.
And there's so many novelty T-shirts that they sell, like I heart boobies. It's everywhere. And then there's the lizards that you mentioned. My favorite lizard was the black volcanic iguana that was also aquatic. Mm-hmm. So it would hang out during the day on these black rocks, and then it would go hunting for food in the ocean. So it would get down off the rocks, go swim around, hold its breath for a long time, and then when it came back up, it was filled with water. And so then it would get back on the rock and then just sneeze out spurts of water for like the next 30 minutes.
The reason why they do that is because they go in there and they absorb kelp. So they go to the bottom and they get kelp, and then they excrete the salt water out, and they keep the kelp in for the nutrients.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I think the Galapagos Islands are the only islands that have aquatic iguanas.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you see iguanas in Asia, they don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
They're only on land.
Do you think, because reading about Darwin, do you think you're smart enough to observe that and notice microevolution?
Absolutely not.
No chance.
I would just be like, this is a fucking crazy lizard.
Look at all these birds.
Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, that bird's beak is different. It's probably doesn't eat as much. That's probably why.
And nobody at that time could really call you on your bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not like how many people in England had been to the Galapagos.
Yeah. He just pulled his boat up and he was like, this is a nice island chain. Let me just change science while I'm here.
Right. Really the course of everything.
Yeah.
Like biology related.
Yeah. It's a very cool place. I would highly recommend going. You'll have a great time there.
Did you guys ever read the book, The Heart of the Sea?
Yes.
So it's about the story that inspired Moby Dick. Moby Dick, I guess, loosely based on a true story. The whale ship Essex that left from Nantucket, went around Cape Horn and up to the Galapagos Islands. They had a quick pit stop there. They later got rammed by a white whale and their ship sunk. And then they had to row their boat 3,000 miles back to the coast of South America. And in the process, like, they had to eat each other.
Oh, shit.
They had to just pull straws. Whoever pulled the shortest straw got shot, and then they ate them. But I think like 8 of the original 100 people survived or something.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
and they were trying to go to the South Pole, right? Like that was one of their, or not to Antarctica, too.
I think they would just normally go into the middle of the Pacific Ocean where they could just kill a bunch of whales and bring them back, which is crazy because that's so far from Nantucket. And these guys would be on a boat for 2 years, come back to Nantucket, have a month off, and then get right back on a boat and be gone for another year and a half or 2 years.
Kind of crazy that people could just steer a ship around by looking at the stars.
Yeah. Yeah, they had stars and a compass. It is wild. Like now, I couldn't even tell you what pretty much any of the stars are. Do you know a lot of constellations? Like, I don't even think I could find the North Star.
I could pick out Cassiopeia, the W, and I could pick out Orion
Okay.
because of the belt. Besides
yes.
that,
I could do navigational stars.
I learned
can?
about Orion's belt in Men in Black.
Not a lot of navigational stars. North Star, Southern Cross, that type of thing.
But the reason I bring it up is because they had a pit stop in the Galapagos Islands, and one of the guys, he was trying to do a prank. I don't know what the prank was, but accidentally started a fire on the island, and it just burned the entire thing.
And so a place he'd never been before, never would go back, accidentally burned it down like one rager of a night.
That had to cause extinctions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No
for
doubt
sure.
about
like that?
Yeah, tons of extinctions, I bet.
There's a thing they teach you about in the Galapagos, the difference between endemic and, now I'm forgetting the other word, the name of a species that's local to a place.
Oh,
What would you call that?
indigenous.
Indigenous, there we go.
Yeah.
So indigenous means that it naturally occurs there. Endemic means it naturally occurs there and only there. Like no other place in the world. And I think the Galapagos has by far the most endemic species.
Yeah, especially birds.
Of birds, for sure. The finches.
Bunch of different types of tits, too.
Yeah, a lot of tits.
All right, this is some more information on the prank. The prank involved sneaking a tinder box onto the island, and as the crew went about looking for more tortoise meat, Chappelle proceeded to start a fire in the underbrush. To the surprise of probably one person, Chappelle himself most likely, the small flame quickly spread out of control to an uncontrollable blaze. And the crew was all out just trying to find more tortoises. But they got back on the boat. I think the men were pissed because he burnt down the entire island, killed all the turtles that they were going to harvest for the rest of their trip.
It's the first time those poor tortoises ever saw fire, probably.
You got to be the first one eaten if you do that.
Yeah, for sure.
You
short straw.
You're the one that we're not drawing this time. It's you, buddy.
Yeah.
You're getting eaten.
I've fantasized about getting stuck on a desert island and how long I would survive. I think if there's like fish there, I think I could last for a couple years. I'd be like Castaway.
Couple years.
Yeah, like Tom Hanks. You just catch fish,
Yeah, I guess
build a
it's
shelter.
how you do it. I think it'd be a lot harder than you think to learn how to do that.
Maybe.
But I think like if it comes to you either learn how to do it or you die, like you might get very,
you got like
very
a week.
resourceful. Yeah, you got like a week to figure it out. And
It's not like you're like hanging out and like, well, I got plenty
you're
of
just getting
time.
more tired every day. And
Right.
Like, deprived
And
of
if you're
food,
waiting in the water because you're not going to have a pole and string, so you'd have to go out there and actually spearfish.
Yeah.
But there is probably things like if you're on an island, rocky, there has to be some sort of shellfish.
Yeah, an easy target. Yeah. I would just be like,
Or at least bugs.
remember your training from when you read Hatchet 4 times when you were a kid. And then I'd be like, I would make, you know what I'd do? I'd make a tidal fishing pool.
Oh,
So you
okay.
set up like a bunch of rocks, like really high, and you make a little enclosed area on the beach from it. And then you do that at low tide. And then when high tide comes in, a bunch of fish get washed into there. And then ideally when the tide goes out, you've got some fish that are trapped.
And you made yourself a warm little bass spot too.
And jacuzzi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought up shellfish. There's a lot of stories of when Europeans were first exploring North America. They would get stranded somewhere, either New England or down around New Orleans, Florida, and they would all starve to death. And it's like, dude, if you just walked like 5 feet into the water, there were gigantic oyster beds.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you just start eating oysters?
All these rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to think about that a lot when I was growing up, like how peanuts grow underneath the ground on little vines underneath the ground. Who was the first person to think, I'm going to roast these bad boys?
I think they probably saw some squirrels or saw some animals like digging up these plants and eating them. And you're like, oh,
Observation.
that's good. Maybe I'll try that.
See, I don't think I would observe. I don't think I'm that observant.
You would have tried to kill the squirrel.
Yes.
Like the squirrel's distracted. And
Like, look at him eating some
Yeah.
acorns and bullshit.
Yeah, you don't worry about what the squirrel's distracted with. You're just like, there's my lunch right there.
Yeah, because if I saw him here, I think I would try an acorn, but I don't know if I would know to cook it, and you would taste it and be super bitter, and I think you would believe, at least, I think I would think that it's toxic.
Poisonous, yeah.
Pistachios, I think, are toxic unless they're cooked first.
There's a couple that are like that.
Yeah.
A couple nuts that are
I
like
mean,
that. Chestnuts.
Olives kind of taste gross when you pick them off the tree, but then they have to be like soaked in something that takes out all the stuff that tastes bad. And then I still think they don't taste that good, but then they're definitely edible.
Aren't tannins?
Tannins might be the stuff in olives.
Is it nutmeg that's hallucinogenic?
Yes. Yep.
I think if you like smoke nutmeg, and don't go out there and try to smoke nutmeg because it'll fuck you up, and I think it could kill you. But if you smoke like a small amount of nutmeg, I think it has hallucinogenic properties to it. I think
be
it's a
cinnamon
drug
too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Large amounts of nutmeg
Yeah.
can cause hallucinations.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Well, I mean, I smoked catnip at a pop punk concert.
It's true.
I felt fine.
There was a while where Donnie was passing around he was passing catnip joints around at the New York office.
I learned that catnip is like very closely related to cannabis, and I found it so weird that that's the one drug that we make for pets.
Yeah.
Like there's no like doggy drug or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
CBD, shout out to it.
And then we went online and searched, and there's a company that sells catnip joints. So
what?
Like, they're selling catnip to be smoked.
Did it work?
Nah, I didn't feel much, but there are people online that are like, yeah, it kind of chilled me out a bit.
Think it's kind of like
enough?
spice?
Yeah, if you smoke enough. I don't think
It's not like spice.
I think it's more like CBD,
Yes,
where like
yes.
it produces calming effects, but nothing like psychotropic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember those days, the catnip joints.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of drugs or as we call it on this show, plant medicine in Ecuador.
That's right.
Like,
There
there's
is.
probably a history of shamans doing.
Very much so. That was one of the things that I came across whenever I was searching for the show, that there was a lot of shamans there.
Yeah. So when I went down to the rainforest, it was outside this town called Tena, like a 2-hour bus ride outside this small little town. We did there was a guide that came to the lodge that we were staying in, and it was like in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the rainforest. And a guide would come out and take you on these hikes during the day. And he was from the local Quechua tribe there, which is an indigenous population. And so he took us out on this big walk through the rainforest. There were probably like 10 people that went out with him. And this is before ayahuasca was a thing. Like, I had seen one documentary about it, but it wasn't like a big documentary or anything. There was no Aaron Rodgers that was talking about the properties of ayahuasca. And he's walking us through the rainforest, and he's telling us all the different vines, different trees. He's like, this is ayahuasca that's hanging down right here. And I was like, isn't that like the psychedelic one that can be made into a tea, and then you drink it? And he looks at me, he goes, for white people only. And then keeps walking. Because like the locals there, they're like, we don't fuck with that stuff.
Yeah.
That's too potent. It'll mess you up.
Yeah, I had no idea until we had the dude Jared on our show that it was from a vine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
What else did you see in the rainforest?
There were some really cool plants. I remember there was this one tree, I think it was called La Reina de Salva, which means queen of the forest, I think. And they call it that because it grows all on its own. So you're in like this very thick vegetation, and then there will be one small tree that's growing and nothing around it for like 3 feet.
Because the roots just take over, something like that?
Well, what happens is, this is what they told me. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much is like scientifically accurate versus like folklore or whatever. But they said that either the leaves or there might be like a small fruit that's on it. Something about the tree is acidic. And so when like the leaves fall off, it falls to the ground and nothing can grow on that ground around this tree.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's just like keep my distance. It's like it's putting up like a little security line.
I bet that blew Darwin's dick off.
Yeah. And he's like, what is this magic tree?
Yeah.
And there are these ants that like this one particular kind of tree, and they'll be hanging out in the tree, and our tour guide was like, try this ant. And I was like, what? He's like, taste the ant. I was like, I don't think I want to taste the ant. He's like, look, I'll do it first. And he ate one. I was like, okay. I tasted it. This was delicious. This motherfucker tasted like fresh squeezed lemon
What?
because of the acid from the tree.
Ah.
It was the most delicious ant on earth by far. It's like not even close. I've accidentally eaten an ant before when it got into my cereal, and they taste like pine tar. They taste awful. You know when you've eaten an ant.
Yeah, when I was maybe 10, me and my friends would dare each other to eat ants.
I don't think I've eaten an ant. I've eaten grasshoppers. I ate one of those little frogs that hang out on windows.
Wait, did you just like pick it off the window and eat it?
Yeah.
alive?
Was that a dare?
Yeah, it was a dare. I mean, I spent a lot of time on rifle ranges and places like that, like boredom that you just sit around for a long time.
Yeah.
So I've eaten a lot of bugs.
I feel like, but a frog, that would be a small frog would be on my list of things to not eat.
Yeah, I had to do it with, so I think it was very beginning of my Marine Corps training. And I had like a old canteen and somebody was like, hey, we'll give you $20 to eat this frog. And I mean, at that time with the little bit of money you make, $20 is good.
Yeah.
So I chomped it up like 3-4 bites.
Oh, you chomped it?
Had to.
It's like a
'cause it's not
gusher?
going to slide down. It's too big. It was like this.
Did you kill it first though, or did
Nah.
so you killed it with your teeth?
Yeah, chomped it back,
God, dude.
swallowed it down, and I was like going with the canteen, and I could feel like the little legs like kicking down my esophagus.
Jesus.
It
Because
was,
that's a choking hazard.
oh yeah, I don't recommend it.
No.
The frog goes spread eagle.
Yeah.
in your
Way
throat.
better cooked.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
I had to kill a frog once because at Chinese supermarkets they sell live toads, and I just thought that was incredible. So I bought one and then I brought it back and I was like, I'm gonna cook frog tonight. But then I realized, oh shit, this frog's still alive, so I have to slaughter it. And I don't know how to slaughter a frog. It turns out the right way to do it is you take it by the feet and just like slam it down.
That's the right way to do it.
Yeah, that's the humane way to do it, because the way I did it was not humane. I was like, I just need to like chop off its head. But frogs don't really have like a neck and then a head.
Yeah,
Their head's just,
Guillotine proof.
yeah.
their head's just the front part of their body. So then like, and it turns out it's very hard to cut through a frog. It was...
Try chewing through one.
I'm still traumatized from trying to kill that frog. It took a lot of cuts.
I would think that you would just toss them in like a wok.
Yeah, but I didn't want to boil it alive or something like that.
But isn't that why you boil it just like 1 degree at a time? Isn't that the old
slow
the adage?
Yeah, with lobster, right?
With a frog, if you boil the water around the frog, it won't realize it's getting hot, so it won't jump out.
until it gets really hot.
Yeah, it's a parable
That's right.
for society.
Yeah, that was
about
traumatizing. And then later that night, I got punched in the face for the first time, and I was like, that is karma for brutally murdering a frog.
Yeah,
That first face punching's a good time though.
This one was not a good time because it got directly in my eye, so I couldn't really like use this eye for weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
the reaction is always like, "Did I just get punched in the face?"
Yeah, because I feel like the first couple times you get punched in the face, you're like, oh, it's not that scary.
Yeah. I do agree with that like you kind of feel like, oh my God, like if I ever got in a fist fight, punched in the face, like I would be ruined. And then you take one punch and you're like, okay, you got so much adrenaline coursing through your body that like it doesn't hurt that much.
But I will never know how UFC fighters can get punched straight in the face all the time and
No.
be able to see
Not
in
be-
the fight.
yeah.
Like right in the nose, and they could still see.
They got the Vaseline, then they got the guy back there at the stool that like puts that heavy thing and like pushes all the blood away. So they get like that almost like instantaneous care on it. But yeah, things swell up really fast.
No, I just mean like the instant, like you get hit in the face with a basketball.
Oh,
You
yeah.
start crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that doesn't happen to more UFC fighters.
You know what really pissed me off is if I was in a UFC fight and the other guy got a soccer ball and it was really, really cold.
Yeah.
And then he just kicked the soccer ball directly into my ear.
Oh yeah,
That would
ear
be
shots.
That would be brutal.
That would be brutal. One other animal that I was super interested in, penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're the only northern hemisphere penguins in the world.
That's right. They live right at the equator. Like it's the only
Yeah.
one that's north of the equator. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why they call it Ecuador.
Yes. 'cause-
Equator.
Yep.
Think about it. There might be some people out there that had never thought about that before.
Hand up.
You had never thought about it until just now? Yeah.
Never.
Name-
Equator. Ecuador.
No, I like to think I'm a decently smart guy, but I never put two and two
Equator.
together.
I
there.
love that. We're educating.
Yeah, I love that. Drop a pin, baby.
So Donnie just gave the only, or Chaps, you just gave, I believe, the only fun fact. I forget who said it. That the penguins they're the only northern hemisphere penguin.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I know about them. Unfortunately, I did not get to see the penguins when I was there. They were on an island that I didn't get a chance to visit. But I love penguins. I wish I
Yeah.
had.
97% of the Galapagos Islands are national parks. So there's only 3% where people can just live.
Yeah.
And I assume most of that 3% work in the tourism industry, you think, or either work in like the science industry or tourism?
Yeah, there's some researchers. There's a lot of people that work in tourism that set up like nature guides and have like hotels and bars and restaurants and things like that. There are some people that live and work there doing like regular jobs, like carpenters, builders, handymen. I don't know what else, but yeah, it's mostly concentrated to these very small parts, and I think there's a bunch of islands that you can't even go to. Like you can drive by on a boat and look at, but you can't get off there.
Okay.
There's
That
like
would make sense.
one old man that lives on that island.
Yep.
Yep.
They're probably worried someone's going to start a fire again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to the sea wolves, when you said that you would love to have like a sea lion as a pet, I think one of those penguins would be sick to walk around Chicago with.
Oh, dude, having your pet penguin?
Oh yeah, like especially the emperor ones that have like the bright orange and yellow.
Yeah.
I would love to put one of those bad boys on like a harness and just go down to like Lincoln Park.
If you were a single man
Oh yeah.
taking your penguin out for a walk,
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to give it like a people name, like Randy.
yeah, you'd have to
There's Randy.
beat the chicks away with
There
a
goes
stick.
Randy and Chaps again.
Yeah.
Back at it again.
Walking out to the local bar.
He's got a
in the
pocket-
middle of the winter. You're wearing like a big parka. He's not wearing anything. Just waddling down the street.
He's like, this is
Pocket-
awesome.
I got
Yeah.
a pocket full of sardines.
Chicks love that too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they would love to come up and talk to you and start a conversation with you. Getting a woman to hang out with you for like an evening while you had a penguin would probably be a little bit more difficult.
I mean, I had a pet goose for a while. It was not a great pet.
Yeah.
Just because they can't be potty trained at all. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
no
only
sphincter
with
control.
Yeah, no sphincter control. But maybe penguins have sphincter control.
Put a diaper on it, maybe.
Yeah, I don't. So
Just keeps
yeah,
proposing to your girlfriend, keeps bringing tiny pebbles up.
Yeah, they're actually.
Randy's got a colostomy bag.
You can go online and buy a diaper for a duck or a goose. For a penguin, probably not.
It's
Yeah.
got to be close, right?
I know, different body types, I think.
Completely different body
They got
completely
thick ass
different
legs.
times. Yeah.
A penguin is much thicker than your standard duck.
Might be able to put one in the bottom of like a singlet.
Yeah. Or just
Mm-hmm.
a garbage bag
Yeah.
and put the straps over its fins like a little old school one-piece swimsuit.
I'm surprised that most animals haven't developed like through evolution sphincter control.
Yeah.
Because you would think like for predators alone that you would want to find a spot that's a little bit inconspicuous that you just wouldn't want to be walking and dropping.
Yeah. Imagine like you're just like walking next to a lion that's like looking for a kill. And you're doing everything your parents had taught you about, like, okay, don't step on the leaves,
Right.
bend at the knees, absorb the impact, and then you just rip a nasty ass diarrhea, and then 2 seconds later you're dead. That's about as bad as an ending as you can have.
Right. And speaking of that, did you guys know that there's more animals than just cats that are naturally attracted to cat litter?
I did not know that.
A pig. If you get a potbelly pig, like so if you wanted to have a potbelly pig as a pet, you can train it very easily to use kitty litter.
I love
Oh,
that.
okay.
They're adorable.
Yeah.
They're smart too.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the vampire finch?
No, I've not.
It is one of the only birds, might be the only bird that is vampiric in nature, and it will drink the blood of other birds.
Oh shit.
It kills them, it has like a little straw at the end of its beak, like a natural kind of straw, and it pokes it and it'll drink it.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of the only. I guess there are other carnivore birds, right?
Well, yeah,
But
there's
Yeah, a
there's,
lot of carnivores.
there's a
but, like,
lot of
not-
carnivore birds,
Not a
but
small bird.
so the finch, because it looks like the bird that it's sucking blood from isn't even dead. Like it's such a small bird that it might just be able to bite a small hole, sip some blood
It has a sucker on it, though.
without actually having. Because like that bird is not going to kill this bird.
I think that bird is a booby. I think the vampire finch is sucking
the
on a
vampire-
booby.
Yeah.
It sucks on
A
boobies.
Yeah.
It's getting some booby milk. No, you get home, you're one of those vampire finches. Like, what have you been doing? Sucking on boobies all day?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Tough day at the boob sucking factory.
Come back and you just got like a bloody beak. It looks like you just went down on a booby that was having their period. And then there's also a tit bird. So there's
Lots of tits.
tits and boobies are both birds.
Love that.
Yeah, I just looked it up. They said that there's over 450 types of tits birds on the Galapagos.
Yeah, each tit is a little bit different.
That's right. And they're all special.
Some are droopy, some are perky,
Yep.
some are firm,
Some are long.
some are long, some are some are old.
So one of the reasons why you were able to hang out with a sea wolf, I learned, is that because actually have human blindness. Because the way that it's protected, because it's been a World Heritage Site for so long, humans have never been predators there. So they don't view humans as a threat at all.
Yeah, in fact, sometimes the opposite. Sometimes you'll be just laying on the beach at one of they've got really nice beaches there too, but you'll just be on the sand, and then a sea lion will swim ashore and it'll walk over to you, and it will lay down for a second near you, and then it'll decide to itself, fuck that, I want that piece of land that person's laying down on. So they walk over to you and then like charge at you, and they're like slow little waddles, just screaming at the top of their lungs. And then you just get scared and you pick up your shit and move like 10 feet to the side. The sea lion lays down, and then it's just alpha'd you out of your spot. I got alpha'd out of probably like 4 or 5 spots.
Do you think you could take one?
Some of them, yes. The teeth worry me. They've got bad biting teeth.
I kind of think it depends on footwear.
Yeah, if you're wearing a steel-toed boot.
Yeah, you just absolutely have to do like a Barbosa from UFC leg kick on it.
They're shaped like giant kidneys, so you just like hit it center mass.
It's like,
and it's just like, you got me.
Starts tapping with its little flipper thing.
That'd be adorable.
Getting back on the stool mid-round, pissing with its weird dick.
Yeah, they can be very, very nice, and they can be giant assholes. Depends on what day you caught the sea lion on.
What's the culture like people-wise? Did you like nightlife, drinks, that kind of stuff?
Went out for some nightlife. They were all very, very nice people that we interacted with. Everybody was like super friendly to tourists. A lot of I don't want to say expats, but a lot of like foreign travelers go through, especially like the coastal parts of mainland Ecuador, and they just kind of like set up shop there for a couple months, hang out by the beach for a while, go out, party, and then move on with their lives. There's like a lot of those type of people. There were let's see, one thing about the Spanish that they speak over there, it's very, very clean Spanish. So they speak slower in Ecuador than they do in most other Hispanic countries. And the regional dialect is not as heavy as it is like places like El Salvador. If you listen to somebody from El Salvador talk and then listen to somebody from Mexico talk, it sounds like almost 2 different languages. And so in Ecuador, it's like, you know how on the news they always have the most neutral accent that they can find for an anchor? That's like Ecuadorian Spanish is like the news anchor version of Spanish.
No regional diction.
Not a lot of regional diction, no. But yeah, people there were very nice, and I loved it. Here's a pro tip though.
Yes.
Quito, if you think that Denver is high in elevation for a city, Quito is twice as high up as Denver is.
Yeah, it's the second highest city in the world, and then Lima, Peru is the highest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you get there,
at least capital city,
you can get altitude sickness. You get like a headache, your body feels off, your stomach hurts. So they told us when our group was coming back from the Galapagos, and they said, if you're worried about altitude sickness, just eat like 2 full Snickers candy bars, like the big size, and drink a full-blooded Coke, talking like Pepsi Diesel. And that will help. And so I did that, got back to Quito, and absolutely no altitude sickness. Whereas when I flew in there,
I thought you were going to say diarrhea.
No, it fucked me up the first day I flew in there. Where my stomach was all messed up, and diarrhea.
Yeah.
And also headache and stuff. But second time, eat that candy, and then you'll be good.
And drink a lot of water.
Drink a ton of water, yeah.
Yeah. But is it a cool city? Like, is it surrounded by mountains?
Mm-hmm. There's lots of mountains around there. It's a cool city. I only spent, I think, 2 nights in Quito, so I didn't get to know it that much. But I had a good time when I was there. You have to be a specially rated pilot to fly in and out of Quito.
Okay.
Because the mountains are like right next to you. So you got to take off and you got to make like a specific turn and climb up. So you have to be rated for that airport to fly out. Now, this maybe the scariest part of the altitude in Quito. It's not the planes, it's not the altitude sickness, it's the buses that you have to take. So from Quito, which is like, I think almost 10,000 feet of elevation, you have to get down to the rainforest if you're going to go out to the jungle. And to do that, you have to go down basically to sea level. So you have to descend about 10,000 feet on a bus trip. And these roads are carved into the side of these big mountains and giant hills. And the roads are 2 lanes, one way each way. And they're really only about like 1.5 lanes wide. So like super narrow roads. And the bus that you're on, it probably hasn't been serviced in like 30 years because you get the buses that go back and forth are all very like low budget. So you have to be driving, no joke, about like a foot from about 400, sometimes 500 meter drop offs, like giant cliffs right to your side. And your bus wheel is about a foot away from that giant drop off. And then you go around a corner and there's another car that's like coming towards you. And then you have to like stop and do a little dance and figure out how you can get around the other person. And you're in the bus and you're looking over the edge and you're like, this is terrifying. Apparently it's like one of the most dangerous roads in the world to drive on.
Yeah. And the drivers don't go slow. Like,
no.
Because they've just been driving that road their whole life, that they'll just be whipping around corners.
Yeah.
You got to slap a baby on board sticker on the back of that bad boy.
Yeah. Come on, man. Just chill out. Don't pass, please.
It sounds like an awful place. Would you put a travel advisory for our friends that have vertigo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Coley can't go.
I hate heights, too. Like, I'm deathly terrified of heights. And this definitely has something to do with that. Just spending about 3 hours on this bus looking at death on the side. That was tough. And a lot of the buses, like, you read about accidents that happen there all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's just, a bus drove off a cliff again. 32 people died.
And no guardrails, right?
No.
Which is crazy.
No guardrails. No.
I was also reading that it's the home of shrunken heads.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's the Shuar people that are indigenous to the Amazon region of Ecuador, and they are famous for their practice of creating tanzas, or shrunken heads. It's an intense tradition that was primarily a spiritual and cultural ritual rather than a gruesome custom, and it's rooted in the belief that capturing and controlling the spirit of one's enemies.
Shit, that's pretty intense.
So it'd be like they would go to battle with another tribe, and then they would afterwards chop off the head.
Yeah.
And then how do they shrink a head?
Great question. So here's the process. After the battle, the people would carefully remove the skin and the hair of the head of the fallen enemy, and they would sew the eyes and mouth shut to prevent the spirit from escaping, which was thought to seal the soul inside their body. The head was then boiled in a special mixture of water, herbs to soften it and begin the shrinking process. After boiling, the head was dried over hot rocks and coals, resulted in shrunken leathery head about the size of a fist. Finally, the head would be further molded and any loose flesh would be removed, while hot sand and stones were used to retain the head shape. So essentially, they made beef jerky out of the head.
Ooh.
So did they remove the skull and it's just like all the skin around the head?
Yeah. No, it seems like, I don't know how it works, but it doesn't say anything about removing. I don't know how you could possibly do that.
Do you think kids in that society are creeped out? Like when they're growing up and they see their first shrunken head, do they have that natural human reaction of, oh, fuck, this is terrifying? Or since they're just around it all the time, since they're young, it's always kind of normal to, oh, this is his headroom.
Probably exposure therapy, right? Like things that you're around, you don't think it's odd?
Yeah. I would be freaked out.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe it's not as commonplace these days because tribal warfare isn't as common in the jungle there.
No, I don't think it's common now for sure.
Yeah, but it's what they used to practice. Did you drink any pisco sours there, or is that more Peru?
I did have pisco sours. Their beer was called a Pilsener. So it's like Pilsener, I think.
Okay.
I still remember Pilsner came in like 32-ounce plastic bottles.
Yep.
And then the tagline was Pura Calidad, which means pure quality.
Okay.
And it tasted like a very refreshing normal beer.
Yeah, I'm sure it tasted like a Pilsner.
Yeah. Tasted like your basic beer.
All right, nice.
One time I did put a couple of those lemon ants in the beer to see if it would give
Honestly, I would eat that. Like, I think if you found, that's how you could survive, I think. Easier is just a diet of bugs.
Yeah.
I think you can do that. Now, the next part that I'm going to talk about, if you're listening in the car with like a 9-year-old who has a pet guinea pig, I would turn it off for a second. one of the favorite local dishes is guinea pig, fried guinea pig.
Koi.
Koi.
As they pronounce it.
That's
Cuy.
Yep.
So I got to try koi at a spot in Queens, Astoria.
Really?
Yeah, it was an Ecuadorian restaurant, I think. And we had to call ahead just to make sure they had it.
Ustedes venden, bueno, en el menú, cuy.
But they served it to me in large. And it was quite large itself. Like, it was not the guinea pigs that we have as pets. It was probably 2 to 3 times the size of a normal pet guinea pig.
Like a suckling pig size?
Like, yay big. Which
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cat size?
It was,
Honey baked
yeah,
ham.
like a cat size, a small cat. And I like a lot of weird foods, but I was not a fan of the guinea pig. I feel like I got heartburn immediately afterwards.
A bit gamey.
We should find
Very gamey.
that here.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Chicago's very diverse too? But
Is it legal to eat a guinea pig? Because they might have just made you call ahead to see if you sound like a cop.
yes, true. I mean, I know they eat horses in a lot of countries, but it's illegal in the U.S.
Yeah. I wonder.
Did you have a chance to try it at all when you were there?
I did not have any of the guinea pig. I didn't have any real street food or street meat. In fact, the one thing that I'll say, the downside, in my opinion, and my personal experience in Ecuador, is the food. It's fine, but it's nothing real special. Like, so the staple at every meal, almost every meal that we ate actually, was either grilled chicken or grilled fish, and then rice, and then some sort of like side vegetable that was like not like carrots and peppers or something like that. And that was what every single plate looked like. Now, if you go to a nice restaurant, you can get, some. I'll say this though, the ceviche is outstanding.
Ooh,
Some of the best.
ceviche.
Peru too.
I was just say the best ceviche, bar none, that I ever had in my life was on the Galapagos Islands, and it was out on this pier next to the ocean, and they caught the fish, brought it up, made it into ceviche, and they put popcorn in it. Popcorn, I think,
I
might
thought
be.
you were going to say those lemon ants.
No, that'd be good. But I mean, it had like pico and all that stuff, and popcorn, because I think popcorn is the national dish of Ecuador.
Oh,
They love their popcorn there.
Yeah, ceviche is incredible. Have you guys ever tried making it at home?
Yeah.
It's so
Easy.
easy. Like,
You don't have to cook anything.
yeah, it
No.
sounds so fancy, and I was like, oh, I couldn't do this at home. No, you literally just chop up small pieces of fish and cilantro,
Takes
jalapenos,
10 minutes.
Yeah.
and then throw in the lime juice to cook it.
Did you know that the salmon at Costco is sushi grade?
No.
So if you get it there, you can make even the frozen one because they kill it, freeze it really quick. You can thaw that out, and you can make ceviche from that, no problem.
Damn.
Or you can make that as the sashimi too.
That motherfucker Kirkland did it again.
He
Did it
really
again.
did. The world's highest volcano is there.
So the world's highest volcano, but then it also, by some definitions, has the world's highest mountain. So Mount Everest, if you judge by feet above sea level, it's the largest mountain in the world.
Yep.
But if you go by the furthest distance from the center of the world, it's a mountain in Ecuador, which I was trying to wrap my head around that.
Because it goes underwater some too, right? Isn't that the one that goes kind of underwater?
No, this one doesn't go underwater. It's all on land, but it's just like, it's not.
Is it because the Earth isn't perfectly flat?
Yeah, it's kind of because Mount Everest is only measured from the sea level. This is measured not to the sea, but to the center of the Earth. So if you keep on, so it's like very high.
Oh, because the elevation is already high in Ecuador. So then,
Yeah.
like even though the peak doesn't look as high as Everest does, it
It's
it is
because the
bigger.
entire country around it is
Yeah.
also elevated?
Yeah, it's already elevated.
Yeah,
the
something like
highest
that.
peak on
Huh.
Earth.
Yeah, it says Chimborazo's summit is approximately 2,100 meters farther from the Earth's center than Everest summit, despite being almost 2,600 meters lower in elevation. So it's lower in elevation than Everest, but it's further from the Earth's center. So yeah, maybe that has to do with the shape of the Earth.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the Earth isn't completely round.
It's not
Kind of like squished.
Yeah.
But if you, I read somewhere that if you shrunk the Earth down to the size of a cue ball, the cue ball would actually be smoother. It would feel smoother.
Yeah,
than the
that's a
Earth does.
Neil Tyson.
Yeah.
That's a fact that he says a lot.
It's crazy.
It's very weird to think about. Is it because of the centrifugal force that the Earth isn't completely round because it's spinning around
Yeah,
the sun.
there's a bulge at the equator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be because of centrifugal force?
That would make sense. I don't know if that's
like a
the reason,
centrifuge?
but that does make sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me too. Let's talk politics briefly.
Okay.
I know that Julian Assange sought refuge in the Ecuador embassy in
Yeah.
London, and he was there for a long ass time.
He was their house guest.
Yeah, he was their house guest, and I
They
think
got sick of him though.
yeah, they did because they were spending a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Assange's stay at the embassy cost Ecuador around $6.5 million from 2012 to 2018.
And that
Yeah.
his apartment was covered in cat piss.
Yeah, he's not a clean tenant.
No.
Yeah,
I feel like if a country that you're not a citizen of is putting you up in $1 million spot, you got to clean up the cat piss.
Yeah, at least come on.
Yeah.
Like let's show
Yeah.
some manners here.
Especially if Pam Anderson's coming over.
Did she go visit?
Really?
They used to fuck, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
They
for
were in a
him.
relationship for a while.
Good for him.
never knew that.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's got to be the best type of relationship for the woman. It's like you
Yeah,
can't.
'cause
He
he
literally
got
piss
can't.
everywhere.
Well, not besides that. It's like he can't leave. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
I know where he's at all times.
Yeah, he's not stepping out.
And it's not like I'm visiting somebody in jail. Like they have an apartment in a nice part of London. That's kind of
Yeah.
fun. We can get nice takeout.
Whenever you want some of that wiki dick, you just
Yeah. Especially because Assange, like, he's a secrets guy. So, you know, he could keep an affair
Yep.
quiet for
Yep.
a while.
Yep. And then you just leave when you're done.
Oh, because she stayed there for so long, it was one of the reasons why she stopped wearing makeup.
Yeah.
Did you know that she doesn't wear makeup anymore?
I've seen pictures.
Yeah,
She goes to like red carpet events and things like that never wears makeup.
I did not notice it, but I will pay attention. It's because she got used to
Yeah.
dating Assange.
She saw her skin was better, she felt better, so she just stopped doing it altogether.
Good for her. Shout out Ecuador.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that too. If your whole adult life, all people cared about was your body and your looks, then you were probably she's probably treated a lot more normal when she
Yeah.
doesn't look like Baywatch Pam Anderson.
and she had a moment where some people considered her the hottest chick on the planet, so she can always hang her hat on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's weird when like girls will try to hold on to that like way too long. It's like it's natural to get old.
She was the
Yeah.
hottest, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
was.
She had
Yeah.
like a 3-year
Okay.
run.
Sexiest,
Yes.
I would say.
Sexiest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Julian Assange was also known for riding his skateboard inside and playing football, which damaged the floors, despite being told not to do that. So yeah, he didn't see. Oh,
What a legend.
Yeah, they're like, whose idea was this? It's like one guy, it was his idea to like market Ecuador as being a bastion of free speech. He's like, what if we just got Assange to stay here? He'll be cool. I know the guy.
it'd be cool.
And then after 1 week, he's like tearing up your floors. and
Yeah,
There's a
and-
cat urinating on you.
He used to yell at like all of the workers in there and accuse them of being U.S. spies. Like, imagine if you just
Yeah.
have to go in and clean, and like Assange just like, you're a dirty U.S. spy.
The ultimate
I know
bad
what you're doing.
roommate story. Like that's as bad as Craigslist can get.
Yeah. You're just in there to clean up all the cat piss, and meanwhile he's just like,
Yeah.
you're a spy.
He skateboards past you.
Yeah.
You get done cleaning up all the cat piss, and here he comes with Randy on a leash.
Skateboards past you in the hallway. He's like, it's kind of a mess in there. Can you clean it up? Later, dudes.
Anything else on Ecuador?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. At some point, I want to do an episode on the Incans, and the Incan Empire did extend to Ecuador, but it was like the last area that they conquered. Started in what's that city in Peru? Not Lima, but the one in the middle. Cusco.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they slowly just conquered more and more territory, and they conquered the area around or where modern day Ecuador is now, probably 10 years before the Spanish arrived.
You're a big Inca Mayan guy, right?
I'm a big Incan and Aztec guy.
Okay.
Yeah, fascinating stories.
Yeah.
I feel like if they made a mini series about the history and the contact with the Spanish, it would be more entertaining than Game of Thrones.
Oh, like a HBO show?
Yeah, like, because it's all real stuff that happened, but
Yeah.
it's just as batshit crazy as all the stuff you see in Game of Thrones, minus the dragons.
And you got the jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that rocks. I would
Yeah.
watch that.
Yep.
I got two other things about
Okay.
Ecuador. One, I got robbed in Ecuador.
Pickpocket?
Somewhat.
Okay.
So I'm on this shady bus, and we're leaving Quito, going down to the rainforest. About 30 minutes into the journey, somebody gets on one of the bus stops and sits directly in the seat behind me. And you've been told, like, that when you go to Ecuador, don't know what it's like right now at this moment, but at the time, this was 2012, it was known that you had to look after your shit in public. Like, there will be pickpockets. So I had my backpack, and it was on the ground at my feet. These guys get on the bus, sit down right behind me, and after about 5 minutes, one of them leans over my seat. So he's like, his shoulder is like touching me, and he's trying to mess with the window, trying to do something, but I'm trying to figure out what he's doing to the window. No idea what he was doing. He was like pushing, pulling, and then he like gives up and he sits back down. A couple stops later, they get off. I keep going. When I reach the next destination, I get my backpack out and I open it up to get probably my passport out. And I had these really nice pair of Adidas running shoes that the guy just yoinked from under my seat. His buddy got it from under my seat while this guy was like causing a distraction. So I didn't have any good shoes. So then I got to the rainforest and I was wearing like flip-flops on all these hikes and stuff.
I thought you were going to say water socks.
Not great. Aqua socks would have been way better than that.
That happened to me in Jamaica.
Flip-flops in the rainforest sounds dangerous just because like there's a lot of poisonous stuff in there.
Oh yeah, you got snakes, you got cute ass monkeys, which were awesome. You got spiders everywhere, tarantulas for sure,
centipedes probably.
Lots of tarantulas, and they're like, yeah, they come out at night, but they won't bite you. Don't worry. And then the other story that I had about crime in Ecuador was this is right after my shit got stolen, my shoes got stolen, so I was all paranoid. I had to stop in this one town. I think it was in Tena, before we took the final connecting route out to the middle of the rainforest. And in this town, like, it gave me kind of weird, sketchy vibes the entire time I was there. And I'd read that it was a pretty dangerous place for pickpockets and thieves and stuff like that. So if you have cash, don't let people know you have cash. Well, I just remembered that I had to pay $500 to the rainforest place that I was going to stay at for the next week. And I need to get cash. They won't take cards or anything. So I go to the one bank that's in town. Lots of shady people like just hanging out next to it, looking at the ATM. And I got my cash out, and then I just started sprinting through town, probably like 15 minutes as fast as I could go through town. And it dawned on me that, like, you'll never see somebody try to rob an individual who's running. Because I think a thief would be like, I don't want to run. Yeah, that looks shitty. Yeah. So if you're able to jog, it doesn't matter what you have on you. I think you're like 95% less likely to get pickpocketed or to get mugged.
Oh, and if you start sprinting from the ATM, I think people think you're a wild card too.
Yeah, what
like
he just do?
He's got some stuff going on.
Yeah, or what he just do at the ATM? Yeah, like did he just rob the ATM?
If he's willing to run in the middle of the day with a pocket full of money, I don't want that guy.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a little pro tip: just sprint.
So, I mean, maybe I should test that theory and go for a jog through O Block, because I've always wanted to go there just to check out the vibes.
I think you could go. I think that's more about like gang violence than it is about like random person pickpocket.
No, but O Block, you're not supposed to go in unless you live there.
Okay,
like, they have like security out front with like a rotating gate, like they would.
Yeah,
have
I just meant jog around that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Because there are certain neighborhoods in Chicago they tell you not to go. I'd still like to see them at some point.
Yeah.
Just might have to be jogging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one question for you. It's not related to Ecuador, but it is related to that part of the world. You've been to Panama.
Yeah.
And I know you're not a drug guy, but you like saw people down there doing this drug called Tusi.
I did, yeah.
What exactly is that? Do you have any idea? All I know is that it's pink. It's a pink powder and that it's becoming more and more popular these days.
I've heard there are two kinds of Tusi. One is called like the number 2 CB or something like that.
Yes.
And I've
heard of that.
Like a synthesized drug that's its own thing from what I know. I haven't experienced it.
Okay.
But the Tusi that's everywhere in South and Central America right now.
Yep.
That's like almost an homage to the actual drug Tusi. So the Tusi that's in South America is sometimes pink, sometimes orange, and it's a mix of like cocaine, sometimes
ketamine,
ketamine, MDMA, and I think I read that speed
methamphetamine
was in it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so what's so crazy about it though? They put like not food coloring, but like colored powder.
Mm-hmm.
you don't really know what you're going to get in each batch of Tusi. It could be the one that's ketamine and MDMA, or it could be, they'll usually put like one stimulant in it. So it'll either be like amphetamine and ketamine, or you might get cocaine and MDMA. And they're the same color, you don't know, but it like the same general vibe, which is you're amped up while you're also like very, very relaxed, which is obviously like a super dangerous drug.
Lots of fentanyl has been found in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one surprised me. Very, very dangerous drug, just because like you don't know what percentage of what drug is in each one.
Did you get eyes on the Panama Canal while you were down there?
I got eyes on the canal. I saw the canal.
Shout out Teddy.
Teddy did it.
Did it live up to the hype?
Gotta be honest with you, not so much, because it was just like a gate.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is an important gate.
It's not that wide either, because obviously it was so long and hard to build. They couldn't make it super wide. I think it can just fit like one of those. Maybe it's like a two-way street that can fit like one large boat going in one direction and another large boat going in the other direction.
It's like a third of the size of Suez, right?
That sounds about right.
Okay.
Did you know who gave the Panama Canal away?
Who gave it away? Like what country?
Because it used to be United States territory. Because we built it.
El Salvador?
No. It was a U.S. president, right?
Teddy Roosevelt built it, and he was like, "This is our territory. We own this small strip of land in Panama."
Oh, that's right.
And then at some point, there was a president who gave it back to Panama and said, "This is yours."
Is it Eisenhower, that dumb bitch?
It was not. It was Jimmy Carter.
Oh, my guy?
Yep.
Come on, Jimmy.
Jimmy Carter gave the canal back.
Sometimes you got to keep... I mean, you imagine the tolls on that bad boy?
No, dude, it would paid for itself. Probably already did pay for itself, but we'd be able to pay off national debt if we still just slap another tax on the canal.
That might be more boneheaded than when the old mayor of Chicago sold all the parking meters to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
that is insane.
They need the cash.
Yeah.
They need
sell it for $1.2 billion, even though it brings in like $600 million a year.
It's insane. Yeah, that's exactly what we did.
I think, wasn't it for 100 years that they sold it?
It's like 100 years where we're going to get to a point where we're not even using cars anymore. Parking's a thing of the past, and we'll still be paying Saudi Arabia
because
for the parking meters, because they have like a certain amount that we have to pay them each year, even if people aren't using the parking meters.
They had like the Drew Rosenhaus of negotiations on that, because even if we turned it into like park area or bike lanes, we're responsible to pay them what it would have gotten.
Yeah, and even as electric cars become a bigger and bigger thing, and maybe the oil it's not worth as much, they still get the parking spaces for all the electric cars.
Right.
It's recession-proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question. I know you've traveled more than a lot of people at the company. You've been to Hong Kong, recently went to Greece. For your next vacation, say if you get 10 days off of work, don't have to record Pardon My Take, what would be your dream destination?
Either New Zealand or Australia. One of the two. Probably New Zealand. I feel like there's a little bit more to see. I know more people in Australia, and that would be more of like a go have a great time, go out and like party and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
New Zealand would be like go out and see some crazy shit that you'll never see ever again.
Schedule that around the All Blacks.
Yeah, go see a rugby game maybe.
Yeah.
I do have family in Christchurch, so I think I would be able to get around the island okay, or the two islands. But it's just more about the flight, where it's like a day and a half to get there, day and a half to get back.
One of my favorite things about New Zealand is anytime I watch a video of like a daughter coming back home to New Zealand, or they're about to graduate, or they're about to play, and they do like an emotional haka, not like the one before a rugby match, but the emotional one. It makes me tear up.
Yeah,
almost every time.
It's good.
It's
beautiful.
There's something spiritual about it.
That's what dogs do when you come home from war, right, Chaps? They do a haka for you.
Yeah. The happiest dog I've ever seen was when I was flying back to Japan, and I was probably 2 hours outside of California over the Pacific, and the flight attendant comes, and she was like, sir, I need to tell you something. Are you the person that has the dog and the weapons? Because I had a M4, and I had a suppressor on that. I had a sub machine gun as well, and then I had my working dog, and they like the weapons were underneath, the dog was underneath. And she said, we accidentally put your dog and guns on a different flight that was going to a different part of Japan. So my dog had that long ass flight to Japan. He ended up going to Tokyo. I went to Osaka, and I had to get on another flight the next morning to go there. But that hotel was sick. It was the first place that I had like a heated bidet. And after coming back from Iraq and having a heated bidet, I just wanted to shit all day and feel how good that felt. But my dog, when I got to Tokyo, when I let him out so he could finally pee, if he had the ability to flip me off, he would have.
He was pissed.
He was like, "You son of a bitch! I haven't pissed in like a day." His hair was all matted. It was awful. Poor guy.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say they accidentally put your dog and your gun like in the same cage together. And I guess we'll find out what happens after we land.
He might have shot me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, PFT, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me,
You are
guys.
welcome back whenever.
Yeah, this is fun.
For sure. We'll drop a pin somewhere else next time. Maybe Hong Kong.
Yeah, or go visit Ecuador. Go check it out.
Yeah. Check out Ecuador. I would like to get down to New Zealand as well. It's crazy you have family there. What prompted that move?
You know, that's a good question. I think that it was my grandfather's sister, and I think that she fell in love with a Kiwi.
That will do it.
Then she moved to New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah, they got
Christchurch.
thick thighs down there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big people.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Thick thighs.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Because of rugby. That's why they're so good.
Yeah, it's apparently a cool place. I want to go.
They got that gat on them. All right. Thanks, PFT. Let's do a little bit of getting cultured.
All right, today on Getting Cultured, we got Rico Bosco, Staten Island's very own. We got to do an episode on Staten Island at some point. But for now, we'll just open the floor to you for any travel-related questions you have.
Yeah, I think it's big picture. It's not necessarily like a certain spot, but as a guy who doesn't travel as much to different places, everything like that, how would you sell somebody on going to see things? So, like, when I want to go on vacation, I want to sit on the beach, I want to go to a resort, like, sneak away on a fucking water slide, drink daiquiris, meet people, play volleyball in the pool, like, lay on the beach, wake up from a nap, don't know where I am. Like, how do you sell people on the constant, like, we're going here, we're going to Europe, we're going here, and for 4 hours, you're walking around and seeing things? Like, sell me on why you trade philosophies. Because I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain things I think you want to see, but it's like, you got to walk. Like, it's, I don't know. Vacation to me is not, let's go walk around. We'll see this museum, go to this thing, go to that, go to this. Kind of want to relax.
I mean, I personally love walking, so I might not be the one to ask. Like, that's if I travel to a new place. Like, yes, I'll love to just chill on the beach and go hippo mode, but if there's one day where I just spend 4 to 5 hours walking around the city, like, that's very enjoyable to me. What I don't like is those group tours. I've done them in the past. I think I'm done with those for good, where you get picked up, you're with like 7 other strangers. Usually they'll come by with a van and they'll make like 6 stops at hotels.
Yeah.
And then you just got this tour guide, you're following around for the day. I highly recommend just checking things out on your own. But do you have any comment on how to convince him?
In a lot of ways, I'm with Rico, and I think it's probably because we have kids that are near the same age. So, like, it was a big spot of contention, like going to Disney World and things like that. You pay all this money for a crazy nice hotel. You got all the drinks you can have. The kids are having fun with the pool. But then the next thing you know, you're taking all these little rascals all over the place, and it does get annoying. So I've said many times that on vacation, we need to have breakup days. So, like, if you go 7 days or whatever in a place, this is what we've started doing. I get like a day or two of doing what I want to do. My wife will pick a day or two of doing what she wants to do, and then we pick a couple days for the kids. So then you have each one of your interest. And I think we actually separated it now where like we go on birthday trips. Well, I'll take a friend on a birthday trip, and she'll take a friend on a birthday trip, and we go places that are interesting to ourselves instead of like the whole family.
Yeah, like, don't feel pressured to go to a place and be like, well, we're in Paris, so we have to see the Louvre. I mean, I have heard the Louvre lives up to the hype, but there's a lot of spots, if you're not interested in it, don't feel obligated to do it. I mean, I just like walking around a city because you get a feel for it. Every 2 hours, you stop and get some drinks, try some new food. And then you'll learn a lot just by walking around. But if you feel like, okay, I got to see this church, I got to see this museum.
Yeah, I think that's the part that like it's like feels like a fucking scavenger hunt instead of just like naturally seeing it. You know
Like
what I mean?
work too.
Yeah, a little bit of like that. Like check this off. Everyone's kind of standing there. It's the same thing. You go there just to get your picture. It's like, are you really experiencing it rather than like?
Yeah, I would say don't force it.
Right.
If it's not something you're super interested in, like, don't force it.
Because you do that shit all the time. Like on all your videos, you'll show up in a place that people that even go there don't really know where you're at, and you're constantly on the move. Like even whenever you just went to Mexico and doing the live streams, you're in places that other people just don't end up.
So that's when I'm like filming content for work. I feel obligated. Like that's tough. When I'm on a work trip, I'm like, I got to do as much as possible.
Okay.
If I'm only here for 7 to 10 days. If
Okay, that makes me feel better about myself because I'm like, I'm way more lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm just on vacation and the cameras are off, like, yeah, I could be content just going hippo mode 2 days in a row, slugging beers. I'm not a big fan of the all-inclusive resorts, or I guess I just haven't done that a lot in the past. Is that what a lot of your vacations
That's what they've
look like?
been. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just easier. You get booked through a travel agent. You booked. We just went for famously. I went to Aruba the day Dave bought the company back.
Okay.
That was fun.
Was that your vacation that was right after the 4th of July break? So
Yes.
he was giving you a lot of shit?
It was in August. And I went to LBI the week after 4th of July, so I had 2 weeks in a row there. But haven't taken one since, so I guess it evens itself out. If you use 2 in 1 year and you don't use 1 in the next year, you kind of evened out, right?
That's the bullshit about having unlimited vacation days, is that you really have no vacation days.
You have no vacation days. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, we were in Aruba, and it was all inclusive of my wife's uncle's 60th birthday party, and it was awesome. Like it was go check it out. You go make the reservations. Like I would go down early, help people out. Like, all right, we need the steakhouse this night. We want the hibachi this night, and you just book it, and and you're just kind of at the mercy of. I kind of like the fact that you're within those walls. Okay. You like don't have to go anywhere else. Mm-hmm. I kind of like that.
Hey, to each their own. Now, I've never traveled with kids. Did you do any traveling pre-kids?
No. Oh, yeah, most of it all. I haven't done any travel with kids.
Oh, okay.
So that's still like, we still haven't done anything. Yeah.
Travel with the kids fucking sucks.
So when you went to Aruba?
It was just kid-free.
All right, it was kid-free. What was your first trip abroad?
Bermuda with my family?
Okay.
I think, if that counts as abroad. I haven't been to Europe. I've been to Aruba. St. Thomas. I went to Grenada for my honeymoon. I think we went to Bermuda and St. Thomas. Mexico a couple of times.
Now, when you went to Mexico.
And Punta Cana. Is that still Mexico?
No, Punta Cana is the Dominican Republic.
So I went to the DR as well.
Okay. In Mexico, were you in Cancun?
I was in Cancun. Yeah, I was in Cancun.
Okay. And that was the resort?
I think I was in Cancun. Okay. We were in a family resort. I don't know if it was Cancun. I got to be honest. It's all fucking rushing together. I think it's because even like the all-inclusives kind of run together as well. They're very interchangeable. They're all kind of the same. Yeah. So it's like, it is what it is. But I don't know. I like the all-inclusive. But that was the thing I was basically asking. Like, sell me on, we're going to go to Italy for 5 days and you're going to be on your feet just walking around rather than like one of those things in the kill when you're on the beach and it's just beautiful.
How do you determine what you're gonna see?
If I'm filming, I'll be like, what would be the best content? If I'm not, I'll kind of just pick a day and just walk.
Yeah.
And then be on my phone and be like, oh, I think I heard about a spot that's like near here, and I'll walk through. I mean, I like historical stuff, so if like I come across some of those sites, I'll be like, all right, I got to see that. There's a lot of other stuff. If there's like a famous art museum, I might not necessarily see it. But yeah, I kind of just walk and get a drink every hour and see where the day takes me.
That's not a bad idea. I think doing that, like if you're not interested in an art museum, but you have to go see an art museum, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Seems very like checked off type of thing. You know what I mean?
I also think like as I've gotten older, the things that I used to not enjoy, I enjoy more.
Right.
Like even when I lived in Okinawa, you couldn't have paid me to go on like a battle site tour when I was 23. Even though I read a bunch of history, I just didn't give a shit about going out there and walk it. now it's one of my biggest regrets that I didn't do way more when I was in Japan.
Yeah, I don't know. Vacation to me should be a vacation. Like I went to Hawaii. I was lucky enough to go to Hawaii for a week in high school for a basketball tournament.
Yeah.
And we went to see Pearl Harbor. Like that was obviously like there's certain things you need to see. We went to a luau. So like a luau that night. So you got the luau, you got Pearl Harbor, and the rest of it we just kind of hung out and like.
That's
did what
Hawaii.
we did.
You did Hawaii.
We did Hawaii. You know what I mean? Like so we were also like playing basketball most of the time, so you weren't really doing much. But yeah, I don't know. I think you need to do the one thing or do like check off the one thing you need to do, and then that's kind of it. Like I went to Memphis and saw St. Jude Hospital, which my dad really wanted to see. Not like get tours of the kids, but like just a quick info session. St. Jude's a big thing with us and our family. And then the other guy we were with, the family, he wanted to do a Mississippi Riverboat tour. Okay. Mississippi was drivable. So like in that vacation, I got you got a little bit of culture in Memphis. You got the Mississippi Riverboat. You got to say you were there. You know what I mean? You played. I think I played golf.
Did you see the Bass Pro Pyramid?
I did see that later when we were driving from. I did it on a Barstool trip when we went from Arkansas to Memphis, Arkansas to Alabama.
Okay, yeah.
We drove past and we stopped and we went all the way up to the top.
I think that might be like the third largest pyramid in the world.
That thing is massive.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
It's so massive.
I think it's like Giza and then one of the Mayans and then
crazy.
Memphis.
Giza, the one in Vegas, and then maybe the one in Memphis.
Yeah, it's massive.
I don't know.
It used to be the basketball arena, apparently.
Inside the pyramid?
I think so. That's what I was
That would be
told.
insane.
Crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, I've kind of worked myself into a corner where whenever I go abroad, I feel like I should be filming some sort of content, even if it's a vacation with my wife and I. But if I really want to go on vacation in the sense that you're talking, I'll go home to Massachusetts. So like every July 4th when we have a week off, I'll go to Mass, and that's when I'll just post up at the beach every day,
Right.
and slug beers, and that's my real vacation. But when I go abroad, I'm on the move.
Well, that's your brand too,
Yeah.
is the travel and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So for somebody who doesn't have a brand, like I kind of want to just relax. But yeah, that's my big picture question. Like, sell me on going to do a lot of like the people who goes vacations and you watch and you're like they never stopped moving. Like I'm like, man, that ain't for me. Yeah, people are cut differently, but that ain't for me.
I totally agree.
Which is fine.
All right. Thanks, Rico.
All right, boys.